Hello and welcome back to the Unstoppable Mumpreneurs Telesummit, where our guest today is Stephanie O'Day. Did I get that right, Stephanie?
You did. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on board. And in this Telesummit is where mompreneurs like ourselves can discover the habits, strategies, and insider secrets to overcoming any obstacle and earn an amazing income doing what they love. Because sometimes people feel that's at odds with one with the other, and it isn't. And it isn't. And yourself, Stephanie, and the other 21 mompreneurs have borne evidence to that. And I'm so grateful that you could be here to help us create some much needed change in the world, one mompreneur at a time. Yeah? Okay.
I like it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I'll introduce Stephanie, for those of you who don't know her. But I imagine a lot of people do. Stephanie O'Day made a New Year's resolution to use her slow cooker every single day and write about it online. The simple idea resulted in a highly trafficked website, a published how-to guide for busy moms, and 4 cookbooks, one of which spent 6 weeks on the New York Times bestsellers list. Stephanie has had multiple appearances on The Rachel Ray Show, Good Morning America, and been featured in Real Simple Magazine, Woman's World, and Oprah.com. She's a contributing editor to Simply Gluten-Free magazine. You can get more information, of course, if you check out Stephanie's website, stephanieoday.com. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you for having me and for that really nice introduction. I appreciate it. That's awfully generous of you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. No, thank you. All right, so we'll get in there, Stephanie, with our questions. And the first one I'm going to ask you is to just expand a bit more for our listeners. Tell them a bit about yourself and your kids and your journey towards becoming a mompreneur and what made you decide to start a business of your own.
Sure. Okay. Well, I actually sort of think of myself as kind of a backwards feminist, which might not come across the best. But when I was in college, I listened and nodded along, but really I kind of thought to myself, I'm just going to be a stay-at-home mom. And then life happened and reality hit. And the fact is I did need to make money. And so I went to work and I had a great job. I was working for the county and I was running preschool centers for disadvantaged children. And I was able to bring my own children with me, which was great. Until the baby at the time was 22 months and she started vomiting and we couldn't figure it out. And it was a sporadic vomit that lasted on and off for about 4 months. And at first I thought it was daycare germs, so I kind of brushed the whole thing off. But no matter what I did, it didn't seem to stop. So I quit, and my husband wasn't super thrilled because we needed that income to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
And so just so you know, she's completely and totally fine now. We realized that she had celiac disease, which is gluten intolerance. But this was back in 2006. So, I mean, now, 10 years later, gluten-free and gluten intolerance is everywhere. But back then, it wasn't as prevalent. So we needed to undergo some testing to figure that out. But anyway, she's fine. But it really put this fire in my belly that I had to find a legitimate way to work from home and really take care of my kids. I felt like that's what they needed and that's really what I wanted. And you can get all like law of attraction-y and all of that kind of woo-woo stuff about it. But the fact is at a very young age, my early 20s, that's what I wanted, is I wanted to stay home. And it's interesting how life happens. And you find a way to deal with it. So that's how the Crockpot site started. I had done some preliminary research on blogging and realized that there were actual moms just like me making money online, writing about the things they loved. And the fact is I loved my Crockpot. wrote about. And I've enjoyed every bit of it. And I can't believe here we are 8 years later.
Wow.
And it's truly a full-time job.
Yeah.
But one that I love, I mean, I jump out of bed every morning, 4:30, 5 a.m., and I
Yeah.
run to the computer. It really is a passion and a hobby, and I'm very fortunate that I do make a full-time living from it.
Fantastic. That is truly, truly, honestly, very, very inspiring, because what you have shared here just how it highlights that it doesn't have to be anything that you have to reinvent. The things that we can do well at, that we can earn a truly amazing income at for ourselves and our families are already within us. They are things that we are innately good at. It may take a bit of, scratching the surface, going down several layers to find it. But the thing is, we've had it from very young and would have dismissed it or would have been forced to dismiss it, all those sorts of things. But it's there. It never went away. It'll never go away. Unfortunately, it goes to the grave with too many women, but good on you for finding that passion. It's interesting also how it was your daughter's illness. I'm really pleased she is all well now.
Yes.
But that was the catalyst that sort of ignited this passion. When I heard about your story with the crock pot, I thought, just amazing, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, lovely. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so when you started out, my next question would be, what were some of your early challenges? But I think it stands out quite clearly that, starting a business, I imagine your daughter was still, having sporadic, vomiting fits at that time still?
Well, once we realized that she needed to go gluten-free, she never got sick again.
Okay.
So it was just a matter of getting her stronger and healthier. And I did lots of research and following all of those magazine ads that you find in the back of parenting magazines. And it was scam after scam after scam. And once I realized that the only way to work from home was to create something that I owned, that I was in charge of. That's where it came from. I've always liked writing. So writing was a natural fit. And I was able to get a few freelance writing jobs, which I enjoyed. And it just sort of realized that here I am, I'm creating content. I'm writing for someone else. And I have a byline, but they're getting the page views. They're getting the income. How do I flip that around to me? So I've learned a lot about SEO, which is search engine optimization, lots of social media. I researched how to score a literary agent and get one and write the book proposals for the cookbooks. And everything I've done, I've learned on my own, kind of the hard way. So that's actually another one of my passions now is helping other moms. You don't have to learn everything the hard way. You don't have to be a stubborn bull in the china store the way I was.
No, fantastic. Now, it's funny because I had an interview with an expert earlier today. And she said exactly the same thing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are scores of people now who have done exactly what you want to do and have done it to a very high quality. Get in touch, access their products and services, and learn from them. And I'm glad you offered that up for women listening here. Yeah. Okay. Now, something I forgot to say to our listeners. I always say that somewhere early in our interview is to please grab a pen and notepad. I definitely have mine because I love showing up as the ever ready, ever present student to learn from anyone who has anything meaningful to share. So yes, take a moment and grab that, ladies, and let's just take in as many of these nuggets as we can from Stephanie, who is sharing them so generously here with us. Okay, so coming back to early challenges, you're a grafter, as we say here in the UK. You just roll up your sleeves and you get in there and you get it done. what were a couple of the early challenges that presented themselves to you, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so I wrote crockpot cookbooks and a crockpot website, and I am not a foodie.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily consider myself a food blogger. And so in the beginning, I had a very hard time making friends online and feeling like I belonged, because I was kind of this outsider. I'm not a foodie. I like the crock pot because it saves time and money, not because I'm trying to create this gourmet meal. So that was an issue for me. The fact that I was carving my own path and following what felt correct to me, which is not what my online peers at the time were doing. So that was hard, and so I felt a bit lonely. So there was that, definitely.
And what did you do to make that shift on that challenge? How did you get over that?
Honestly, I really think it was a mindset shift of I'm going to do me and you're going to do you. And my path is different than your path. Yeah. I have different goals and aspirations. I don't need to go speak at every single conference and do this or that. I kind of just want to be home taking care of my family and writing and sharing as much as I can, but I'm not going to hop on a plane every 5 seconds to leave my kids. So there was that.
Fantastic. And I love that, because again, you speak to what some of our experts have, actually quite a few have spoken to, and it's being yourself. And I think when you attract your own, I know the jargon in the industry these days is your own tribe, that people get attracted to you for who you are. And, they can see right through, and when you're trying to be someone else, and they can probably even pinpoint what it is you're trying to be.
Sure. Yeah.
But no, good on you. Do you. Love that. And so my next one is, what is a challenge that comes up for you even now that you are more established, and how do you manage that?
Sure. So I think moms in general are very good multitaskers, and we are always keeping a whole bunch of balls in the air. And I think the challenge, if you are running an online business, is thinking online you have to be everywhere, and meaning social media. You do not need to be on every single social media platform in order to be successful. So certainly multitask when it comes to running the business and running your family, but don't multitask in thinking, I have to do really well at YouTube, I have to do Pinterest, I have to do Facebook, I have to do Twitter, I have to do Periscope, I have to do all of these live things. If you like it, do it. If you don't like it, don't. Back to you do you. So really, that's the major thing is don't feel pressure from someone saying, oh, you're missing out because you're not doing Facebook Live every day. If you like Facebook Live, go for it. But if you don't, you don't have to. Focus on what truly brings you joy. That said, if you are establishing an online business, my suggestion is to create the account only to save your business name. So don't let anyone else poach your name. So I'm lucky in that my business name happens to be my name. So that works out well for me. So make an account and have it, but you don't feel pressure to do every bitty thing every single day.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Would you say there, because a lot of women might say, well, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, whatever, which ones do I do? So short of making a recommendation as to which one, is there a sort of manageable average that people should sort of look at? Is that 1? Is that 2? Is that 3? Is that 5? What is that for you?
Sure. I don't know if there's an actual number per se, but I think you go where your people are. So my people are not on LinkedIn. My people are mom crock potters. So they are on Facebook,
Yes.
and they are on Pinterest. And so that's what I focus on. I do have a Twitter account. I have a YouTube channel. There's not anything on it, although I'll put this interview on it, Cheryl.
Good stuff. That's a great start. Yeah. Thank you.
So just go where the people are. My husband's an engineer. He spends a lot of time on LinkedIn. He's constantly talking to me about LinkedIn, and my eyes roll backwards. So, but that said, I know there are tribes and there are lots of different networking opportunities on LinkedIn. So if you're a coach or some sort of person-to-person contact that LinkedIn makes sense, you should absolutely use it.
Get us going. It's doing you and going where your people are. No, valuable advice there. Thank you for that. What's the number one obstacle that you see holding most mompreneurs back, and what advice would you give them to help them overcome that?
I think it's actually analysis paralysis. I think we are a generation that researches and then researches our research. So
I like that. So true.
So I think when you decide upon a path for business, that's it. You've already done the research. You've already done the decision. If you keep researching, you're going to talk yourself out of it. So you can find a study that backs up everything. You can find a study that tells you sugar is fantastic, and you can find a study that says sugar is evil. So if you know you're going to start a cat grooming business, and that's what you're going to do, and you're going to set up a newsletter, and you are going to do a Periscope every day, and that's what you're going to do. So decide and then stick with it for probably a good 6 months or so. You can tweak and you can ebb and flow, but don't scratch your entire business plan just because something else new and shiny comes along.
And that's it, isn't it? It's that, bright new shiny object as well that can pull a lot of women off course. No, again, another valuable nugget there. Because I've found with a lot of women, and I've been there myself. So when you said, paralysis analysis, I smiled broadly because I know that it still has the tendency to apply to me if I let it. And I know it held me up big time, especially in the early stages of my own business, especially, again, being very research orientated. And in a way, it's just another form of procrastination, really.
Yes.
And not taking action. And all those things can be based on fear of one kind or another. So I'm not being dismissive there. But there comes a time when you know what you need to know. The next step is just do it. Yeah. Okay.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And procrastination serves its purpose. I think, especially for me as a writer, I don't necessarily write while I'm sitting at my computer. I write in my head in the shower or in carpool or gardening. But when it comes to actually sitting at the computer, I need to work. So, and that means closing all of the windows, turning off Facebook, silencing the phone, and working. If I'm going to goof around or check personal things, then I go old school and I give myself a 10-minute timer. And when that thing dings, we're done.
That's it. But you speak of a certain discipline there, and it's a discipline that I have found consistent in different forms. We're all different people, but regardless of personality, with all the mompreneurs I've interviewed so far, and mompreneurs I know in my own life, there is a high degree of discipline involved, and it is necessary. It is necessary. Okay, great. Do you believe, Stephanie, that anyone or any mom can truly become a successful entrepreneur?
You know, it's interesting because you sent me this list of questions,
Yes.
and I'm in the States, and so we just finished Labor Day weekend. So that's a 3-day weekend where I actually got a lot of work done, and I joked with my family like, well, it's called Labor Day for a reason. So, but this question haunted me because I want to say, yes, everyone has what it takes. But I think the reality is no. And I think it's because you have to have that entrepreneurial mindset of wanting to create something and then seeing it through. And I don't think everyone really has that. If that was the truth, then we wouldn't have people who worked for other companies, and we wouldn't have all of these other jobs. So you have to have kind of a stomach for failure and for fear, and you have to have safety nets in place in order to take that leap. So I am an entrepreneur, and my income varies constantly, and I don't have health care. And so I'm very grateful that my husband is not an entrepreneur and has reliable paychecks and has good health care. So I really think it's a personal choice and one that you have to think hard and fast on. And the more I started thinking about it, the more I think that everyone can be an entrepreneur is kind of a fancy markety buzzword for probably someone who wants to take your money away. So
because it is being peddled quite a lot out there in the industry. And I'll be honest with you, as I wrote my list of questions, and to anyone listening, I decided to do this to give my experts a fair chance at preparing, and it hasn't taken away from their honesty, their integrity, their authenticity at all. And I will be the first to say, when I wrote that question, it challenged me. Because prior to writing that question and having to consider my own answer, I believe that anyone can, and I've actually even said it, I'm sure someone can quote me, Cheryl, on the 10th of September, you said this. But it made me think, because it does require a particular mindset. You said that you have to have that entrepreneurial mindset and be able to create something that you want and see it through. Now, a lot of us, just about everyone I know, want to achieve certain goals and dreams, and they're actually quite big goals and dreams, and that's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely wonderful. But turn around and ask, many of these individuals, are you really prepared to slog it out? As one expert said, to go through your children being ill, being up all night, being bone tired, and then getting up and putting in, a 10-hour day around the fringes of a work day. Because I'll be honest, I start working at 5 in the morning, and that gives me until my daughter gets up at 7:30. Then that gets switched off. It's her time. It's getting breakfast. It's getting ready, and then heading off, working and doing what I'm doing here at the same time. And I come back, so I work until 2 in the afternoon, 1:30, get home. I have another bit of time there before I pick her up from school, and the rest of that is in the evening. So it's amazing what you can accomplish in those fringe hours. And you really have to be prepared to do that.
Yeah. No, I absolutely, I'm nodding along because your schedule is exactly mine. I get up at 5, unless I can't sleep, then I get up at 4.
There we go, that too. And this morning would be a perfect example.
Yeah. And it's interesting, back when I was saying things like, I don't know, at the beginning of our conversation, I said I didn't want to go speak in all these places and hop on a plane and leave my family. I did that a few times, but nobody wanted to hear the work part. So when I was first getting started, I was still freelance writing. I was writing the cookbook and I was running the website. I went to bed at 8 o'clock at night with the kids, but set the alarm for midnight. And I worked what I called the swing shift. I worked from midnight to 4 a.m. Then I went back to bed and then woke up again with the kids. And I had this group of women who all said they wanted to do what I do. I'll be like, I can't do that. Like, well, I mean, Brian Tracy is always saying it's called work for a reason.
Absolutely. And I think the industry has, has to take some responsibility for that, Stephanie, because there's a lot again being peddled about, pretty much, overnight success when you listen to some of this. And there's quite a bit of conversation out there that I think decries the job, just over broke. So it really does make a lot of women question, my God, am I a fraud, for working and doing my job, following my passion? And I had that dilemma, I'll be honest with you, it's, a couple of years ago. But you've got to do you. You've got to do you. And my line is this now. Many of the gurus, and I don't say that to decry them at all, because most of them do a fantastically inspirational job. With many of the gurus who would decry the job, and if you don't succeed in business, you might as well go back to a 9 to 5 and all that.
Sure.
They would not have gotten where they are without a job, either theirs or their partners. Yeah. Sure. So, there is nothing wrong with work, because, as you said, not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. And there is nothing wrong with that. Someone has to run the hospitals. Someone has to turn up when we call the ambulance and all the emergency service. Someone has to be there to serve us when we go shopping. So we need that side of things as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I like writing. I don't like math. I have to know my business numbers. I have to know the numbers. I have no choice. So I think, and that again goes into the work part. And some of these online marketer people are do what you love all day long and have passive income and blah, blah, blah. There's work involved. It's not all passive. It's neat when you've created something and you're no longer actively working on it and your phone dings and, PayPal just sent me money. So that is very, very cool.
Yes.
But a lot of work went into that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, great stuff. Thanks for that. Now, this brought us on to the other one. And it's that one about work-life balance or work-life blend. Which do you veer more towards, Stephanie?
I think it's the blend, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about working in the fringes. I am always a mom, no matter what, but I am also always working. It's just, I look at it as kind of my brain is compartmentalized.
You can manage that, yeah.
So if I get an inspiration by having a conversation with someone, I'll go into the bathroom and type something to myself on the phone.
Absolutely.
So, I'm just constantly, that's how it works. Yeah. That said, there are some times when I'm going to move the camera, sorry. There are some times when I know I need to be 100% or at least, 96.4% focused on the kids. And that is only fair to them. I don't want them to think, oh, my mom never listened to me. So when they wake up in the morning, I am already off the computer by the time they wake up in the morning. Which is why I get up early, when it's probably why you get up early.
Absolutely.
I have to see what happened overnight online. I just have to. Some people who say, oh, don't check email till 9 a.m. I don't believe them. I really, really, really don't believe them. So anyway, so I'm off the computer by the time they're up.
Mm-hmm.
They have my attention. We walk to school. I don't
Yes.
play on the phone
Same here. Mm-hmm.
school. And then when I'm back, I sit at the desk and work, and then I pick them up, and they have my attention. Once they are had their snack and settled, I will go back to the computer on and off throughout the rest of the evening.
Yes.
And I usually am too tired to do much work
Mm-hmm.
after they're in bed. So
Mm-hmm.
if I have a huge project I'm working on, I will. But because I get up so early, I'm kind of check out and have computerized by 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Great. Great. No. So, and again, getting up early gives you that head start. So yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a morning person. I know some people aren't.
Too.
Like, well, then do what's right for you.
And there we go. There we go again. It's doing you. So, how has being a mompreneur impacted your children? You know, what impact do you think it has had on them?
Sure. I'm raising 3 girls, so I hope that it has empowered them in some way, that that you can try and find a way to have it all. You can live where you want to live and work according to your own hours, and still take care of your family and be there as much as you'd like. So so that's the goal. We talk a lot about kind of that entrepreneurial mindset,
Yes.
and regardless of what type of future career you would like to have, you should probably do something on your own also that you fully are in control of. And also at a very young age, I've hopefully impounded in them is it doesn't matter how much money you make, it's how much you keep, and, and make that money work for you. So
yes, no, fantastic. And you know, I'm a firm believer that our kids are watching. So, you know, and they're taking notes. And I've said on this Telesummit before, my 7-year-old on a Sunday night when I'm making up my to-do list for the week and all that, she has to be sitting there with her little notebook, making up her to-do list as well. So they are watching and they are taking notes. So one way or another, you know, it's rubbing off on them somehow. And even if whatever way they go, it presents them with choices. You know, I know if I'm to be totally brutally honest with myself, some years ago, I would have, you know, steered or encouraged gently the academic path for my daughter, and just the academic path alone. Now I would be completely comfortable and wish her well whichever way she goes, or if she wishes to embrace both. Anything is possible, just as you said here.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right then. So we are down to the final one. What would you say is the number one habit, the number one strategy, and the number one insider secret that have enabled you to achieve and sustain the success that you enjoy now, Stephanie?
I think the big difference between where I am now in my business versus when I started is I've probably put my ego in check, and I am now listening and taking advice from people who have already been there and done that, instead of feeling I have to do everything all on my own and learn everything the hard way. So I am now more humble and have realized that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not do every little thing all by myself. I think in the beginning, it was important because I wanted to know how all of the different parts of everything worked. But now I am very aware of what my strengths and weaknesses are, and am happy to ask for help from someone who's a few steps ahead of me. I think I do spend a lot of time mentoring and helping women who aren't as far along in their business as I am. But then I need to constantly grow myself or I'll stagnate. And so I think constantly striving to better yourself and better the business is good for me. And then I also like giving back and helping as much as I can. So
Fantastic, fantastic. No, that's great. That's great. Now, I think that sort of brings us to the end of
Okay, sure. So with the
Stephanie. Sorry, I do have to interrupt here a bit. I just heard my doorbell going.
okay,
Sorry.
no, don't be.
Sorry about that.
No, that's
That was
okay.
my husband
No,
who
so
usually
that's
came.
what it is. It's real life, and that's actually something I try and let people know, that your life, whatever it is, whatever path you might choose, it's not going to look like a glossy magazine. Your house
No.
isn't going to look like Pottery Barn catalog. So this is real life, and in real life, things happen, and it's how you roll with the punches
Yes.
and move on is where the real growth is. So
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, you when you answered before moving away, sorry, from question 8, I'll go back for a little bit because I was conscious I heard the doorbell ring. I wasn't expecting anyone. And I'm not sure if he forgot his keys, whatever, but came to the front instead of the back as you normally would do. But that's all right. It's all part of what our life as an entrepreneur, a mompreneur is like. Um, you mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to come back to. Ask for help, and realize that you don't have to do everything, because so many of us entrepreneurs,
right.
we feel it's a sign of weakness, or a sign of being vulnerable, or which
Yes.
many of us interpret the wrong way. If we were to reach out, and really it is not. There are so many people out there who are willing and able to help us and want to. And being aware of your strengths and your weaknesses, playing to your strengths, and either building up on your weaknesses or finding people who can do what you're not very good at.
Sure.
Yeah, you talked about that, and constantly striving to be better. You also talked about reaching out to people who are a few steps ahead of you,
Yes.
and that is so key. Because as women, and oftentimes as mompreneurs, we get bombarded with everybody's advice, everybody's opinion of what you should be doing, when you
Right.
should be doing it, where you should be going, and not to mention all that chatter that's already going on inside your head. And there comes a point when you have to make a decision to stop listening to the noise, yours included, won't you say?
I absolutely agree, and I think it's a bit when we touched about the analysis paralysis, but when you've decided on a path, trust it, trust the process. You are a very smart person, or you wouldn't even be thinking this way. So trust that your instincts were correct, and follow the path, and don't get sidetracked.
No, thank you for that. It's a fantastic note on which to properly end now. No, thank you for that. Great sharing there. Stephanie, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
On board.
I do have a so when we were talking a bit about the been there, done that advice, I have put together for your listeners and viewers
Yes.
a cheat sheet of the 7 tools that I actually use every single day in my online business. And most of them are free.
Good.
So, but they're definitely been time and user tested, and I think they're easy, and they seem to be sort of intuitive, which I appreciate. Because I don't know about you, I am not a fan of going through and reading long tutorials and following lists of code. So I appreciate it.
I'm not, and it's not my strength at all. So that is your free gift offering, Stephanie.
Yes, and in doing so, you'll get you will then be a subscriber to my Mom Blog newsletter. So my main newsletter is actually for the crock pot recipes,
Yes.
but I have different subsets, and this one is primarily for mompreneurs and those mompreneurs who are interested in creating an online sustainable business.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's an amazing bundle, a very generous bundle, very generous offering, and I thank you very much for offering that to our audience. And I thank you for all that you have shared, extremely valuable nuggets on this Telesummit. It's been a joy speaking with you, and myself learning so much from you, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. So there you go. But we'll see you again, Stephanie. Take care now.
Alrighty. Thank you, Cheryl.
Bye. Okay.